is on for his 6th international. So Australia with 2 converted tries, a field goal by Lynagh as well. For the Lions, Hastings a penalty and a field goal by Chalmers. 9-point advantage. Australia with 2 replacements at half-time though, both in the front row.
This first point of impact is very important in this second half. The Lions, after their half-time break, would be saying, let's really get in and drive it and get over that advantage line. Australia will be looking to pick the pace of the game up again.
And as well as a change in the front row, a change in the thrower to the scrum, into the line-out. With no effect. They're old friends.
And points. Looking at the statistics of the first half, the line-outs favouring the Lions by 11-7. The penalties 7 apiece. But the second phase possession again going very much the Lions' way by 16-8 in the rucks and mauls. And the Australians have made 9 errors to the Lions' 10. And the scrum feeds also going to the Lions by 4-3. And the Lions have also taken 2 tight heads. So that scrum, a bit of a worry for the Australians in the first half. But Nick Farr-Jones, as you can hear, is really laying down the law now to his side. So let's have a look at that try by Ian Williams, which came at a desperate time as far as Australia was concerned, Gary Pearce.
Certainly was. Here we can see it was one of the rehearsed moves, but it really did work. All that diversion to get those lines to move across field was worked extremely well.
Well, we didn't quite see that try, but I can assure you Ian Williams got there to score a very vital one for Australia. But really, fellas, these Australian forwards are going to have to play with the same fervour as the Homeric Warriors on the plains of Troy, Gary Pearce.
Certainly is. The Lions have controlled that entire half with the exception of 30 seconds. So this time they're going to have to get out there and control for the rest of the second half and not let the Lions in the game.
Chris, you predicted Australia would come back, and they did just before half-time.
Good, and I think that was probably my heart more than the head speaking. There is no urgency in the Australian pack particularly. There needs to be that urgency. Rucks and mauls, they're down second phase play, down 2-1. It's not good enough. Jeff Miller is not really being allowed to play in the game, and they need that to get into it. They need to come out on the front foot. It's difficult, but they can do it.
Yes, well, I suppose if you go back to Ballymore, and it was in the last 5 minutes of play where the Lions scored 2 tries. If their forwards are able to maintain the sort of pressure that they did in the first half, well, that's going to be the real danger period for Australia if the scores are close. Australia really has to put its stamp on this game, as they've done just before half-time. But the $60 question is now, can they go on with it? The Lions pack has been quite superb in the first half. And the backs have also showed a desire to try and straighten things up too. So the second half of the Mitre 10 third international between Australia and the British Lions, and Hastings, who had such a strong first half, again proving a colossus at the back for his side, back up to halfway.
Big contrast in these kickoffs. The Lions always wanting to regain the possession back with a short kick. Australia preferring to put it down into the 22 and try and get the throw in on the line out.
That was Tuynman. Well picked up by one of the Australian front rowers. And Australia took it in. The Lions come out with it. Guscott. Guscott with that clever left foot jab. He wants the touchline. And it hit the corner post. It hit the corner post. And the referee says we'll have a 22.
And quite rightly so. It's one of those anomalies played in the game. Great kick. Left footer along the ground, and it was only very, very close. Critical decision, that one there by the referee. If he'd have played the touchline, it was wrong, and Australia were in trouble.
Well, that's a better kick by Lynagh, and Crowley does well to set up things here. Campese. His kick almost finding snow and taking play to within 10 metres of the halfway line. So that was better organisation by the Australians at the kick-off. They've worked very hard on that area during the week.
Good, I think it's just this incredible enthusiasm of the Lions wanting to try and get up there and get hold of the ball. Long time since I've seen a team so aggressive to get hold of the ball off a kickoff or a 22.
Ackford again doing well. Guscott running straight, but not very decisively. Miller the tackler. Australia drive in. But there's good mauling there. And Miller has it for Australia. Out it comes. Martin. Big Martin tries to get through. It was Bill Campbell. And now Farr-Jones looking for the touchline. Can he get it? Well, it was that little charge there by Bill Campbell which really set it up for Farr-Jones, who reacted instinctively.
You see here, the reason they came from that play was that Miller was able to get to breakdown, able to get hold of a bit of ball, but people started to play in depth, and Farr-Jones took that ball in depth and was able to look for touch and get it right down only 5 metres out.
So quite a dramatic start to this second term, inspired by the Australian skipper and his vice-captain. Timing at the back to Farr-Jones, Lynagh and Walker. Back to Lynagh, the loop, here's danger. Martin, well caught around the ankles. Player diving in at the breakdown. That has to be a penalty. Mike Teague making no attempt to stay on his feet.
Well, he hesitated for a moment, but the decision was the right one. Mr. Okay. You must be bound when the ball goes to ground between two players. Here it's set up. Two players together, the ball between them. Teague there must bind, can't play the ball on the ground. Twice now he's been picked up.
Yes, it was almost a professional foul there by Teague. No attempt to stay on his feet. And Lynagh could blow this one over. And this would put Australia in front for the first time in this international. Michael Lynagh makes no mistake. The crowd is happy. It's taken Australia 43 minutes to hit the fronts. But it certainly came at the right time in that championship period, just before and after halftime.
Cutting blow to the Lions. They've had all the play, and now they find themselves 3 points behind. They're a bit restricted with the style of play that they can choose to bridge that gap. They've committed themselves to the forward game and to the kicking game, and maybe we should suggest to them that they do what they stumbled upon at Ballymore near the end of the game and run it out wide.
Cutler goes high and stands his ground. Lions players packing around on the wrong side. Cutler goes to ground.
Well, beautiful take there by Steve Cutler.
So Tim Gavin warming up here, and Steve Cutler had problems with his back. And it looks as though Bill Campbell may also have troubled his hamstring. Andrew now hanging up in the breeze. Martin didn't take it cleanly, but it was mauled away by one of his teammates. So Tim Gavin looks as though he's going to get on the pitch here. The referee correctly giving the scrum feed to the Lions. That ruck was stationary. Can the Lions hit back here? Australia trying to wheel it round past the 90. Jones, Andrew looking for the equaliser. Gourley almost charging down, but he put the pressure on. That was important. And now Campese and Evans. Oh, this is terrible stuff. It's a try. Well, what a mortal blow for the Australians. The less said about that, the better. David Campese knows he's made a horrible mistake here, and the Lions have hit the lead.
Well, the only way the Lions were going to get back in this match was by some Australian mistakes, and this is the classic shocker. David Campese had to dot that ball down. He was out on his own. He started the run. Greg Martin went in support without really wanting the ball, lost it ahead, and the unthinkable has happened. Look at this. You don't do this on your own line. You don't wear a green and gold jersey to pull out that sort of Mickey Mouse rugby.
So the crowd really stunned here by that horrible blunder. And Hastings, can he hammer in the nail? No. So 1 point the difference. The Lions by 13 to 12. And that was the score we had inside the last 5 minutes of the Ballymore Test match. Well, it certainly was a rush of blood by Campese. Can the Australians recover from that? Fortunately, they're only 1 point down. But the Lions were just starting to flag as the Australians were building confidence. Campese, Chris Sandy has got to forget all about that, as has the Australian team, and start looking ahead.
Well, I think there's times in close rugby matches that you must play the percentage game of rugby, and today certainly was one of those games where percentage was required. We're not 10 points in front, we're struggling, and they were lucky to be in front of the Lions. And unfortunately, as has happened before, David Campese, it's either sublime or ridiculous. And to the great disappointment of his teammates, that time the choice was ridiculous.
But again, it shows your kicks are only as good as your chases, and it was really that pressure that was really put on Campese, not being able to run it out from there, that really was by only one man.
Here's the thing with Campese, he normally does beat the first man himself, and I don't think there's any point in rubbing it in, but Evans had gone across to Martin. He'd gone for the dummy, and Campese really had no one in front. But it's one of those things that happens. I suppose it happens to every footballer, and David Campese really feeling it at the moment, but he's got to put it out of his mind.
He's a great champion, and he's got the rest of this half really to peg it back, and we know he's got the talents to do it.
Robert Jones with the scrum on the 10-metre line, Australian territory. Evans follows. Martin coming up to the ball outside the 22. He lost a head. Richards couldn't handle. And the referee says both ways. So the Lions persisting with that kick close to the touchline, putting pressure on Australia. It's been a very handy tactic. Again, a steady build-up here by the Scarlet Reds. Andrew cut out to Hastings. Here comes Gavin. Almost through the first line. Richards more strongly. Australia arrived just a little fast at that time, but the Lions have it in control. This is Teague. Teague back to Calder. The Lions clear it through Teague again. He runs at the Australians. Farr-Jones has caught him there. The Lions have numbers in the backs, but Australia's cover is good. Underwood now. And Campese taking it into touch. And deliberately knocking it into touch, says the referee, against David Campese. Deliberately knocking into touch, but he held onto the ball, Monsieur Uke. That's what he's telling the referee. How could he have knocked it into touch if he maintained possession?
That's exactly right. He did very well to get across in cover. His natural speed got him there. It was a great kick, and the try was on. Williams was committed. He was turned round, and there Campese still with the ball in his hand. Crook decision.
The referee's made a bad blunder. Wade Dooley. Good set up for Jones. Andrew lost a head. Advantage here for Australia. One point the difference. Drama charged international between Australia and the Lions.
Well, we've seen some bad decisions by the referee both in the second test. Not bad in his attitude to the game, but just clearly wrong. A couple in the first test, and that one there was again an indication of a clearly wrong decision. Not one that was made in the heat of the moment or pressured. It wasn't the right decision and could well affect the result of the game.
Lynagh now onto his left foot, not finding touch. Williams through on Hastings. Hastings follows. Australia falling down in that touch area. This is Farr-Jones, and he's reefed it straight down the centre of the field. Australia want the chasers here. Underwood in broken play. Very dangerous. Loose pass by Underwood. Guscott now. And he settles well. Fortuitous bounce. Australia back on their heels.
He deserved that one. His last went badly for him, and that one, beautiful kick, reminiscent of Andrew Slack's kicking in general play. When it all appeared under pressure, he was able to lift the ball up the top and get his side back onto the front foot.
Tommy Lawton having trouble here, hearing the signals. Cacophony from the crowd. 12 metres out from the goal line. Well done, Cutler. And also Greg Martin. That's a mighty touch finder. 35 metres out. And, well, we've got the Lion and the Wallaby out there, but the South Sydney Rabbits also have the football stadium as their home ground.
I think it's the referee.
I know Lynag's a magician, but I didn't think he was that good. More sweeps. Jones. And that one going out on the full. Well, the first mistake from the kicking boot of Jones. And the crowd really roaring themselves hoarse as this intruder causes plenty of entertainment here. But the accent is on the football. Well, we've seen dogs, but never lapin, as Monsieur Ourquet would say.
Won't it be interesting trying to describe to him what's on the field? Imagine saying to the referee, there's a rabbit on the field.
Again, the quick line out. This is Farr-Jones. Campese supporting Lynagh. Lynagh now wants the bounce, but that one's going just a little too deep. And this rabbit is having an absolute ball. I wish someone would give him a carrot.
This will do wonders for Australian tourism. I think there's kangaroos going down George Street, but rabbits on rugby fields, I think will be covered across the world.
Andrew. Kick going. About 15 metres ahead. Farr-Jones is there, and Calder! Finlay Calder with a breakout. Hastings went the other way. Calder stands his ground. Can the Lions score their try here? 18 metres out. Andrew, Guscott, Evans barreled by Campese. Australian defence is good. Miller comes in. Desperate gallantry from him. Now it's Hartill for Australia. Great setup by the Australians, and Lynagh sending the ball right downfield and back up towards halfway. Good recovery there by the Australians.
Well, the Lions have really thrown it at us there. The ball came across as they powered in. You can see the ball's gone up. Nick Farr-Jones tries to get it, but Calder always on the ball. Great captaincy as he goes through here. But look at the shoulder he puts into Martin as he drives over the top of him. Here he goes, looking for support. Teague, the back row there again as they power over. And look at the way they climb in here, cleaning Australia out. The ball goes wide. All Lions backs looking to back up here. You can see Underwood around there trying to get hold of it, as he does. But Australia react to it very fast.
Fullback Greg Martin hurt his shoulder in that tackle. He's still in the hands of the Australian trainer. 5 metres from halfway. They go high. And a knock on there by the Lions. And Australia with the scrum feed. Now, when it's a knock on in the line out, the scrum should be 15 metres in. That one's only about 7. Lloyd Walker finds a hole. Pass knocked down. And offside play here by the Lions. The referee played the advantage. Well, Australia 1 point down. It really is nail-biting stuff. And they still haven't caught that little creature. Lynagh's kick. Delightful punt kick. Just inside the 22.
This is where we'll be calling on the experience of Nick Farr-Jones, Cutler and Lynagh to pick the pace of the Australian attack up. But first they must consolidate this play, be hungry to get hold of this Lions throw-in.
The most difficult thing here will be to get the Lions ball from them in the line-out. Ackford at the front with Richards sweeping.
And it was Ackford and Richards in concert. Jones, and he gains only 5 or 6 metres. But it's almost at the moment as though that mistake has really galvanised the Australians. They've really thrown themselves into the fray. They're very hungry now. And they try their move with 3 joining the line out. The referee is knocked out of the way by Finlay Calder, and the free kick has been given against the Lions. It worked in the first test, but not here.
Well, it brings a wry smile, I think, to the face of Ian McGeechan, who always questioned whether that move was in the spirit of the game after the first test.
I know the Australians met with the referee yesterday and questioned him on law interpretations. One would have assumed that was one of their questions, but apparently not. Cutler to Hartill. Australians getting some good line-out ball. Lost ahead by Maguire. They're putting themselves under pressure. Here goes Dooley. The Lions pack on a roll here. Young supports. 24 metres out. Andrew. And it's Evans. And the mark goes to Martin, but the referee has spotted some offside play by the Australians. And Gavin Hastings comes up for what could prove to be another mortal blow for the Australians.
A great forward surge by the Lions pack. Have really taken control at this point of time. Just working the ball wide off the ruck, not wanting to take it too far, smuggling it back to a player and really making sure that the Australian forwards have to continually adjust backwards. And when they do, they bring the mistakes.
Rucks and Mauls 24-14 in favour of the Lions, and the lineouts 16-11. So the Lions enjoying an advantage at the set piece and also in the loose. Very mobile, committed pack of forwards. Hastings right in the sun here. This to send the Lions out to a 4-point lead. And there's no mistake with that one. Bisecting the uprights. And things getting very difficult now for this Australian side as the Lions really gee themselves on.
You can see that natural enthusiasm and encouragement. Gavin Hastings pumped up by the successful kick, slapping his teammates on the back saying, come on, give me that supreme effort.
Australia must look to contest this ball. All their kicks have been long ones. They must look to get it back.
They go for the short one. Campbell goes high, so does Cutler. But the Lions set it up well. Evans coming through now on Martin. Martin stands his ground. Calder, the tackler, assisted by Evans. And again, that high ball from Robert Jones proving successful. The referee has spotted another infringement on the ground by the Australians. Not allowing fair release, it would seem. And Hastings can send them 3 points further ahead.
Well, it was pretty ordinary play by the Australian players. Martin had to take that ball in his own. And by the time he was able to get it into his arms properly, there were 4 Lions players around him, not 1 Australian player. It is a support game. They can't allow players to stand out on their own and try and win it themselves.
Well, we're now into the final quarter of this deciding third test. Gavin Hastings with 4 successful penalty goals from 5 attempts. A very soft try to Ieuan Evans. And Australia struggling. (16 points to 12). Gavin Hastings kicked 6 penalty goals in his test debut. against France in 1986 to equal the world record. Would this be number 5? He's been striking them beautifully, and he's done it again. The Lions out to a 7-point lead, and the writing on the wall for the Australian team.
19-12, the same score in the final minutes of the second test. Now it's up to Australia. The Lions were able to do it in Brisbane. There's 20 minutes to go. It needs a lift.
Ball just going the 10 metres. Now it's Lloyd Walker. Walker, good pass here. Maguire. The Australians coming in. The Lions trying to get to that loose ball quickly, and I think they might have spoiled. They have. Teague back to Jones. And Andrew up the touchline, making no mistake.
Well, that's the story. Australia unable to have continuity to play. They've been caught one out. They've been losing the ball when they've gone in with it ruck and ball themselves. And that's mainly because of the aggression and mobility of this Lions back row. On the other hand, when the Lions have gone in, they've kept their feet. Australia has not been able to put them on the ground and force the ball to run loose.
Campbell does well. Now it's Walker, Maguire and Martin and Williams outside. Williams and Evans, good tackle by his opposite number. Intercept, Hastings. Liners back there for Australia. Hastings closes. And Liner saves the day. Finding touch outside the 22. Well, some very tired Australian forwards at the moment. The heat really coming on.
What a classic game Gavin Hastings is having. Great anticipation, really setting his team alight that surge down the line. Tremendous pressure.
Well, the Lions showed in the second test that composure was one of their strong points. It's needed from the Australians now. Crowley puts his head down, and Australia surely will come up with this ball. And the Lions players were in front of the offside line and making no effort to retire, and also the referee says they pulled it down.
But Gordon, very tentative blocking by the Australian team. The ball came into there that wasn't really a pressure situation, and Australia allowed the Lions to get around in there and tie that ball up.
Indication, I think, of fatigue. Just 16.5 minutes remaining. Now it's Williams again. Williams still going, back to Campese. Maguire. Australia desperately wanting the ball back, but Lions players on the ground there making no effort to get to their feet. Andrew. Bit of space here, Gourley across, and Gavin Hastings can do no wrong this afternoon. This is Campese. And nothing fancy from Campese as he sends it back to within 10 of halfway. So still 16 minutes remaining.
I think it's Scott Hastings. No, it's Guscott, I think, on the ground, injured in that ruck. But it's inspired stuff from the Lions at the moment. Gavin Hastings, every time he touches the ball, he does something positive. But it's been that committed support play, as Gary Pearce was talking about, smashing in after the initial defensive work has been done, that's allowed them to maintain possession.
Well, that one wasn't straight by any stretch, but the referee thought so. 5 metres into Australia's territory, and this rubber kick really has put Australia under pressure. This is Martin. No angle. And good pressure from Mike Teague up there. And it's only 15 metres out. The Australians very slow to get back here.
Martin not confident there to be able to kick onto his right foot. Went back to his natural left foot, leaving very little angle to get the ball out.
The Australians really playing on adrenaline at the moment, but the surge really coming now from the Lions. They're ahead by 7 points, 19-12. Ackford at the front. Richards appeared to lose that ball forward.
Australia really getting blotted out of these lineouts. If you can't win your share of first phase ball, that'll be in that scrum or that most important line, and it's very hard to play a second phase game.
Well, the referee this time pulls it in 15 metres for the scrum after the ball had been tapped, which effectively ended the line-out. Michael Lynagh not finding touch. Again, a bit of pressure from Teague, and now Gavin Hastings with a long-range field goal. David Campese. It's desperation for this Australian side, but Campese, obviously rattled by his mistake, is opting for the safety of his right boot, and very successfully.
And as he displayed, he does have a very useful kick. Crunch time for Australia. This is when they've got to put some points on the board.
One try apiece. Evans for the Lions, Hastings 5 penalty goals. Williams for Australia, Lynagh a conversion and 2 penalties. The Lions having 65% of the territory in the third quarter of the game. Hartill for Australia. Walker, back to Campese, back to Miller. Farr-Jones now. Australia does have an overlap. This is Martin. Again, desperate defence. Guscott that time. Gourley comes away. He got there quickly. Good set up here from the Australians. It's Lynagh again, taking on Andrew. Australia starting to find a few holes, but they have to maintain continuity. Farr-Jones to Walker. Walker kicking now for Campese. It's a race for the line. Underwood there first. Oh, that was a pretty dangerous pass. Hastings in bother, and it's going to be a 5-metre scrum.
Superb pressure there by the Australian backs as they came up on that kick. You can see the tension of the game really being shown between two very good sportsmen in Hastings and Campese. The tension's there.
Well, without the front rower David Soul, who's down in centre field, this scrum can't go on. And we saw this scenario posed last week at Ballymore, that if David Young had been sent off the field, the referee may well have had to call the game off, because unless they can pack the scrum, it doesn't continue. And if the other players had refused to move into the front row and there had not been the suitable replacement from within the ranks, it was all over.
Calder going in to just tell his pack, let's give it one big shove here and see if we can spoil the Australian ball, just as we did in the first half. But if Australia's going to win this game, they have to score here. Another very vital scrum. Concentration looks good from the Australians. Now it's Lynagh. Campese tackled and lost a head. Great tackle there by Scott Hastings. And the referee pulling it back, I think, for the scrum. Playing the advantage. Jones hasn't found touch. Martin practices field goals, but now the whistle goes.
We can see here the ball's come across here and Campese just goes forward. But look at the mobility of this big man Richards. He's got there fast and he's turned around a defensive situation into an attacking by driving forward.
$19 points to 12. The Lions pack bunched a few centimetres only, and Gavin Hastings, that tower of strength, finds the touch 25 metres out.
Australia's picked up a sniff of success here. They've really picked up the pace of the game. Their second phase game's becoming better. They're more committed. We saw from the last two scrums, they were able to get hold of it and drive the ball forward.
Critical line out. This possession must be won. They've struggled throughout the game, but from here on in, they've got to win everything, Australia, to win the game. I don't think they can do it. The Lions are pressuring them at every opportunity.
Well, a bad pass from Lynagh to Maguire put Farr-Jones under pressure, and the composure's just not there at the moment. And the referee this time has spotted a Lions player infringing. So there's 10.5 minutes to go, and this is a vital one for Lynagh, because if successful, Australia then is within a converted try of winning.
full marks to this Lions defensive back line. The Bob Dwyer, or the textbook Australian way of backs playing, is to stand shallow, stand close together and move the ball around. Australia's attempted that today, but the Lions have been disrupting that by getting up there and knocking them down. That style of game requires very, very quick hands, and the man who's making the incision into that back line needs to be moving fast. Australia yet to get that part of the game right.
So Australia will still be alive if Lynagh can successfully kick this penalty. And the pressure of the whole world on Lynagh with this one. Crowd's happy. 4 points the difference. Australia can still do it, and they're being urged on by this capacity crowd of 40,000. 19 points to 15. We're set for a pulsating finish. Converted try would do it for Australia. It's been a titanic struggle. Australia has done it against the odds.
You see the true breeding in this Lions pack here, and see how aggressive they go after this ball.
Just under 9 minutes remaining. Richards got there, so did Moore, and he lost it. And Moore puts his hands over his head. And there the reserves and also the dirt trackers, Donald's Donuts as they're known. Donald Lenihan, the midweek captain. Lynagh now to Campbell. They're coming in depth. This is Martin straight through. Teague caught him. Australia look good here. Campese on the left. Straight across field. Chance Australia. Can he get it out? Now it's Walker. Walker to Martin. Tuynman loops. Great surge here from Australia. Hastings, though, with no pressure, gets the mark, and he'll send play back upfield. Well, the Australians really starting to throw down the gauntlet. 8 minutes to go.
Well, for mine, the play was on the far side of the field when Campese studded and brought it back this side. They were stretched, the Lions, and should have been stretched even further.
Australia must attempt to keep the ball in the hand. Get each player to try and drive a bit harder, drive himself that bit more to get to the support play, to put himself in a better position. While the Lions haven't got the ball, they can't control the match. They can't slow the pace up.
7.5 minutes to go. Australia with the full complement in the line out. Tuynman got it. This is Lynagh running hard and straight. Australian forward support well. Orkay nearly bowled over. Where's the ball? Here it is. Lions player offside. Brian Moore offside. Australia storming home in this game.
Mike Teague again the boogeyman. He's played so well driving the ball up, but each time the ball has come to ground and the Lions have been going backwards, he's fouled. Watch it there, number 6. You saw it. So did the referee.
Referee Orkay did well to see that one because he was on the other side of the ruck. But Calder telling David Soul that he should think about going off if he's not 100%, but Soul says, no, I'm going to stay on. Well, what a gripping finish. 6.5 minutes to go. If Lynagh gets this, there'll be 1 point between the two teams. Lynagh's kicked 3 penalty goals, Hastings 5. 1 try apiece, and Lynagh a conversion. Well, I think some of the Australian players won't be able to look at this one. The ones who will follow it must chase hard. Lynagh struck it well. 1 point the difference, 19-18. What a comeback by this Australian team. Just under 6 minutes remaining. Lynagh kicks his 4th penalty and takes his tally to 14 points in the game. Well, it's the Australian side who've really come back into this game. Desperate gallantry from them. And the Lions inclined just to sit a bit on their lead. Gary Pearce now paying the penalty.
Well, the Lions taking their time to get the ball up to the halfway here, trying to tick out those seconds. But still a bit over 5 minutes to go. They'll be looking for possession. Australia here looking for ball in the hand, continued continuity to play to get down the other end of the field.
Cutler goes high. He's played with a bad back. He went out of the high tackle from Richards. A better set up here from the Australians. Farr-Jones has it. Lynagh now. Kicking ahead, Richards is there. He's caught by Gourley and Walker. Teague was there. He lost it. Farr-Jones. Back they go. Overlap here for Lynagh. Stepping beautifully. Here they go. Cutler at halfback. Tuynman now. It's Ian Williams. And Australia still mount the pressure. 4.5 minutes to go. 1 point the difference. The Lions have it by 19 to 18.
Well, they say at the Sydney Sports Stadium, the football stadium, the crowd's worth a few points. And I'm sure the Australians on the field will be urging themselves on because they're getting tremendous assistance from this crowd.
The Australians have certainly proved themselves a great side to come back as they have in this second half. But they want the ball. Farr-Jones now in trouble. Pass was okay. It looked to be forward. Here's Campese. Now it's Maguire. Maguire with Evans in front. Williams is there. Well caught. Scott Hastings lost ahead. The referee didn't see it. The Lions come back now. Jones kicking for Campese. He watched it. Campese chances his arm. Walker's there. Australia trying to move it wide. Now they have numbers. Maguire and Williams. Williams up towards halfway. He's looking for the bounce and he doesn't quite get it. Hastings was outside his 22. 3 minutes and 19 seconds to go. The Lions leading by 19 to 18. And Australia again down in that danger zone. Well, this is unbearable stuff at the moment. What a finish to this international. The Lions holding on.
Australia's throw in here. Australia looking for possession. Sweeping most important, so it's good ball that comes to the Australian backs.
Whichever side loses this game will be shattered. Australia driving in and they're offside. The ball wasn't out. Over anxiousness there from Scott Gourley, and that may well be the one that helps the Lions to see it out. 2.5 minutes to go. Well, the Lions have really got the staggers. It's Australia who've really come back so strongly, but the seconds are ticking away for them. Just over 2 minutes remaining. 19-18.
Australia calling for the full line out to try and keep these Lions forwards in one place.
Referee says play on. Well, they're really very hungry in the Australian pack. They seem to push Dooley backwards. And the referee has spotted a hand in the ruck. That may well be the backbreaker. With 2 minutes to go, Hastings is going to have a shot for goal. And Australia looking for their first ever series win against the Lions. Well, it looks as though their chance may all be but over. One and a half minutes to go.
Well, 15 Australians better be on the starting blocks if this particular goal doesn't go over, because you'll see one of the greatest attacking moves if they can take it from here. But the Lions doing all the work, doing all the right work there. They won the critical line out in the game. That was that last one. They'll be able to get a penalty from that because Australia are just too eager to get hold of the ball.
Very similar finish to the series in '84 too. When Australia won the first test, they had the second test won against the All Blacks. And then the Lions with a 1 point advantage, just as New Zealand did in that third test to win it 25-24. This could win it for the Lions. He hasn't got the distance. There's 50 seconds remaining and it's Campese. He's running. Good line for the Australians. They've really got to have a go here. Martin lost ahead. 40 seconds remaining. So, the referee plays advantage. Here they go. Jones kicks deep. And Campese's over his goal line. And his kick finding touch only 5 metres out. Well, he only really had to touch the ball down there for the 22 dropout. And this should be the last line out, the last set piece of the game. The crowd's starting to leave because the Lions have done it. They've thwarted Australia at the death. Brian Moore takes his time. There's just 6 or 7 seconds to go. Australia has to win the line out and go for it. Farr-Jones, Walker, Williams almost through. Now it's Campese. Australia must keep the ball alive. The Lions will try and kill it. They've done that. There's no sign of it coming out. I think the match is all over. The referee having a look at his clock. We'll have the scrum, please. Whistles from supporters. Scrum feed for the Lions. Time is up on the clock. Jones kicks long and high. Campese underneath, Evans there. Now it's Martin again. Desperately trying to keep it alive. The pass is okay to Williams. Here they go again. Line is there. And it could be well a try to Underwood. He's held up. Amazing scenes here in the closing stages. That's it. The Lions have won the series by 19 points to 18. Unbridled joy for them. Mike Teague gets the match ball, fittingly too, and so too Finlay Calder. The Australians gave it their all, but that mortal blow, which saw the Lions score that try after half-time, in the end proved too much for them. The Lions winning by 19 points to 18. They don't come any more exciting, and that really is a heartbreaker for the Australians. But Gary Pearce, they really did show tremendous character.
Well, they certainly have. It's been a great test series. The Lions went into the first test really as favourites. Australia came out and really did go at them and played that traditional open style of game. But the Lions have come back, and they've come back with a vengeance in the second and this last test. They're a great side. They've got great skills. Their ability to be able to control play up front and manipulate the players around the field. They are a thinking team.
And you saw Clive Rowlands there, the Lions manager, Top Cat as he's known, hugging his players. That certainly makes up for some of the disappointments for him. He was with the Welsh side in 1978 when they lost in that third and deciding test match. But full marks to the Lions. They hung on. But gee, you couldn't take anything away from either side.
Oh, that's right. But the first half, the Lions, as they did in Brisbane, they really did control the game, and it was always hard for Australia to come back into the game. Australia nearly pulled it off by just getting back to basics, and that was controlling the ball in the hand and moving it wide, getting continuity of second phase play. But then we were let down again in the line-out, and the scrum was always pressure on us, so Australia didn't really get to advantage line from those set pieces, which made it very hard.
Well, as you can see, there are plenty of happy supporters here. It's the ultimate accolade, the pinnacle to play for the Lions if you're a member of one of the 4 home unions. And these players have really done it for the Northern Hemisphere this afternoon. Finlay Calder now leading his players around the field. It's a victory lap of honour, almost a solo one until his players respond. And this really is a moment to savour for these 15 players.
Finlay Calder has had a tremendous tour as a captain. His mobility in open play has been fantastic. He's had the mobility of second phase has been very much on his shoulders. He's picked another 2 players in Richards and Teague, who are very much powerful players close to the ruck and maul. So it's been really on his shoulders to get out and win second phase play, and he's done a great job.
So Chris Handy now is going to speak to a couple of the prop forwards, I think, David Soul and David Young, who did such a grand job for their side in the series. Both were certainly under injury clouds in that second half.
The engine room of the Lions pack, David Young and David Soul. To win today, you had to do it up front. You completed your mission. What's it feel like?
Knackering. That's about it.
There's a lot of pressure on at the start of the tour. It was a difficult tour. You came with a mission. David Young, it must be pleasing for you to come back to Australia and win at the Sydney Football Stadium.
That's right, yeah. I missed out in the World Cup playing against Australia, so obviously it was nice to get back here on the winning spree. The
feeling for next week's game, I suppose it's a bit hard to clear this one out, but the Anzacs game. That'll be a big moment as well. You're looking forward to that?
Oh yes, it's something to look forward to. You know, they don't play too often, the Anzacs, so it'll be nice to play against them. It's a great experience.
The problem with the paper talk before the game, were you able to put that out of your mind and just get on with the rugby today?
Well, I had to really, didn't I? You know, I tend not to read papers too often. Though.
You'd be obviously pretty pleased to go back home with the series win behind you rather than other.
Well, obviously, you know, we come out here to win, and there was no other sort of result we were looking for, really, bar a win.
Congratulations, boys. We'll see you at Ballymore.
Thanks very much.
So Finlay Calder there now with Chris Handy, and let's quickly look at the 2 tries scored in the game. But before we do, we're going to go back down to Finlay Calder.
And I was worried that Australia wouldn't have just too good for us, but you know, we came out and stuck to our game plan, and David Campese was worked under pressure again. We said we'd work him, and he did us the right thing by trying to run out of his own line, and Ieuan got up for the score. It was a good score, but I felt overall it was a pretty even match, and I think the score reflected just how even it was at 19-18. You can't ask for a closer match than that, and full credit to Australia this time for coming back at us, but I was glad when Rennie Urquhart blew the final whistle.
Congratulations.
Thanks very much.
Good on you.
Cheers, Nick.
Yes, well, it certainly was a great day for the Lions, and I think a draw probably would have been